The year was 2020, and the world was in the verge of getting obliterated because the Chinese Batman failed to stop Pengu from his evil master plan of detonating a biotech bomb. And thus the circumstances ended up with countries all over the world officially declaring lockdowns, aka temporarily jailing people inside their home while Batman works his ass off to figure out the perfect antidote for the virus. Meanwhile, evil Mojo Jojo saw this as a perfect opportunity to portray what's happening to the real world into the world of Paladins, and thus Vora, the one-woman apocalypse, was created in the form of a flank character. Though this time, the Armageddon warrior is being brought to the realm on a rainbow princess unicorn. So now, the real matter of the question people are asking: does Vora really have what it takes to be one of those FTW flankers in the realm? Can she really fight those one-trick ponies and make them cry like a 2-year-old? Can she really challenge the turtle waifu Makoa? Or can she finally be able to punish Ayo for oversleeping and not showing up to save her people? Well, to answer all of that, as always, we had to kidnap Alexhamada and locked him up in a local grandma's basement and made him one-trick Vora. And boy oh boy, thanks to all of his known at basement journey, finally in today's video, we'll get to learn one tip for Vora against all the champions in the realm. Let's go. Before jumping the guns, you really need to learn 3 of the key tips about Vora to get the best out of your character. Firstly, as of now, Vora's the most viable talent is Relentless Presence, and you really need to make a build around that. Now, I hereby no mean to tell you what your loadout should be, but speaking from my hours of Vora experience, you really need the Tendril cooldown, the Tendril DR, and the extra HP card in your loadout. The reason to that leads to the second tip. If you have the DR build, then you can get in and get out from a fight even from tighter situations. Because Vora's DR gets stacked up upon using both of her tendrils, means if you have the DR card and use your root 2 times in a duel, then you're gonna get almost over 40% DR. And on top of that, if you keep on adding Haven, then you can get a max up to 50% DR. And in cases using your ult, you can even stretch it up to 60%. Now, that's pretty scary for a pesky flank. And lastly, you really need to get used to hitting shots while you're in the air, because you'll be tendriling a lot. And I highly suggest you to always jump in on your duels when you have full chakra, as it'll make your duels surprisingly much more easier. And more for like a bonus side tip, you should mostly use your ult for mobility purposes rather than going 1v5 and trying to chop somebody.
Fine, I guess you are my little PogChamp. Come here.
You seek my service.
Androxus's reversal is a mystery to science, and Vora adds another layer to it. When an Androxus brings up his reversal, and you know at one point of his fight he will, just shoot the reversal with all your heart, and Androxus still won't have any reversal value to throw back at you. Go ahead, shoot me. What the fuck? What the fuck just happened?
What? The reversal did go.
Keep in mind, this won't fill your chakra meter with any dark energies, but it'll surely give you those sweet heals if you hit the reversal with your Q ability. And after all of this, Andros still won't get any reversal value to throw back at you. It'll probably make him sit in one corner and rethink his entire life. So the actual tip here is that when he brings up his reversal, bring up your heavy attack in your primary combo and hit him up as soon as his reversal ends. The 730 heavy blow will surely do some significant amount of damage. In some cases, it might as well as be enough to secure the kill. And of course, crippling him and leaving him as a wrapped up gift will always make you the best Santa for your team.
This is the 3rd best day of my life!
Buck always has this tendency of leaping on his targets, especially if he's running bounce house. Now surely if you can time it correctly, then you can cripple him in mid-air. But still he'll be close to you due to the momentum of his leap, and as we all know, Buck is a bigger threat at close range than far. To resolve this, the tip here is to use the knockback card in your loadout. You should keep it even as a feeler card in your build, cause this card will time and time save you and make your duels a lot more easier. So now that you're all set with the build, this time whenever Buck decides to leap in on you, time it correctly, and use your obliteration. This will negate the damage he's gonna throw at you while leaping in. Also, due to the knockback of the card, it'll knock him back in a fair amount of distance, leaving you to root away safe and soundly while taking very minimum damage in comparison.
Rest in pieces, Uggo!
On an EV Vora matchup, it all depends on how well you can anticipate the enemy EV's attack pattern and how well you can use your kit to bring in the challenge. Vora can counter most of Eevee's abilities. Like for example, you can cripple her when she blinks, or when she soars. You can even hit her with your RMB when she's in the air. And in certain situations, you can even chase down a low HP Eevee and secure the kill if you know how to use your tendrils properly. Seriously, there's so much you can do, cause when an Eevee flanks, she has a very small window to kill somebody, and Vora can make that window even smaller due to her anti-flank capabilities. So in short, the only tip here is to predict an Eevee and stay prepared and act accordingly. And if the Eevee picks up a direct 1v1 against you, then try to stay airborne with your tendrils and try to hit your shots. Your DR card in the deck will help you a bunch in staying alive during the fight. And even if you're missing your shots, still it'll help Eevee stall long enough for your team to send nudes. Backup.
But Alex, give us a pro tip.
Pro tip, if an Eevee traps you with her Ice Storm, then you can and should always run away from it using your ultimate.
Don't blink, you'll miss it.
Koga faces a real hot time against a Vora 1v1, cause you can create so much distance against a Koga matchup and make him drain most of his energies. In a poke battle against Koga, he really needs to use his dashes to cleanse the dot damage. So either he'll try to minimize the gap between you and him while dashing, or he'll just give up. If he does come close and you know most of his energy is drained out, then it should be an easy kill for you no matter how you take the approach. Also a situational tip, if you know he's low on energy, then you can always bait out his ultimate with yours.
I will pass judgment.
Whenever you see this maniac, just maintain distance and play super passively, cause Lex has the potential to take the duel from a mid to long range and can actually win against you due to his less damage fall-offs at range. Another fact, when you're low and trying to Spider-Man away, then Lex can track you and in some cases might actually kill you with his auto-aim. So best advice is to play super passive, and if he jumps in on you, just root away and create distance. His slide ability can never compete with yours. A quick side tip, if you see a Lex ulting, then do not try to negate it with your RMB, cause you might be damage and CC immune in your obliteration, but not execution immune, so you'd still die.
Knife to meet you.
Maeve can never pounce away from your RMB because of Vora's Uranus fucking hitbox that an evil mojo gave her. No matter in which direction she pounces to, she will still get hit, and will become a packed up kitty if that pounce was her last resource to skip, unfortunately. And somehow, she does manage to escape and she would still take the damage. Another tip, and I'm pretty sure that you're aware of this, but you can cleanse the midnight with your RMB or with your ult.
Hawk poop, get booped.
You can always create distance from Moji no matter what, and needless to say, you can always win the poke battles cause of that. However, if the Moji comes close and brings up her barrier, then like Andro, bring up the heavy attack in your primary combo, and as soon as the barrier falls off, use obliteration to shake off the mark damage and follow it up with the heavy swing. In total, you're gonna deal on a scale of 1.2 to 1.4k burst, depending on how much dark energy you got. And this should turn the duel in your favor, if not securing the kill. Also, Emoji can never turn you into a cookie if you time your obliteration properly.
How long are you going to stare at me for?
Sky's first approach in a duel is to always use poison bolts, and then she follows up with her primary shots. In comparison, Vora's Dark Siphon ability negates most of the damage from the poison bolt than her obliteration ability. This tech almost makes you tank most of the Sky's poison bolts. Also, you can keep track of a Sky with the damage hit marks. Illuminate would be just overkilling at this point. And needless to say, you can always dance around a Sky's bomb, and if the situation calls for it, hell, you can even tank it.
This is my birthright!
This little kid can show you who's got the bigger banana. There's no way you can win a close-up 1v1 against him. Just keep track of his cooldown and play super passive. only pick a fight when you know his overcharge is at cooldown, and he's really weak at long range poke battles, so use that at your advantage as well.
I am the Herald.
On a Vora v Vora matchup, whoever uses the obliteration first loses. Similar but an opposite tip, on your doppelganger duel, whoever cripples the other one first wins. Also, this is pretty dumb.
Let the bodies hit the floor!
Xin can counter all of Vora's attacks, except for the ult though, but he gets to keep his virginity in his counter, so there's that. The tip here is that even though Xin counters Vora's obliteration, but still, if you landed right in the center of where he's standing, then surprisingly you'll be able to hit him, even if he's in his counter stance. Another tip, and you probably already figured, you can dodge Xin's ult and might as well as kill him if he's low by using your obliteration. Moving on to the damage.
I think you and Grumpy would get along.
You can always shut down a BK's ult, just time it correctly and block it with the RMB. However, if there's wide open spaces beside you, then a smart BK can easily slip and get behind you and then detonate the bomb. So if you don't want this trauma to haunt you for days, make sure you time it correctly and body block the King Bomb, cause it automatically detonates when it hits a target. Also, BK is one of those champions who never gets crippled, so instead of crippling him, juke him hard with your tendrils and obliteration. And speaking of obliteration, make sure you're all charged up on your darkness before taking the duel.
What happened if you have your Jaka and Bro,
Oh.
the fuck is this, bro? She has a knockback.
Similarly, you can even tank a King Bomb with your ultimate, but I highly recommend doing this when most of your abilities are under cooldown and you got no other way to defend yourself.
We did it, Ziggs!
If the Cassie is consistent with her shots, then she's a huge threat for your team, and not to mention for you as well. Also, Cassie can keep the distance against a Vora as long as she uses her abilities properly. So the reliable tip would be only take the fight against a Cassie when you know her blast shot is under cooldown, cause it's one of her common and most anticipated burst combo. And in comparison, your duel gets much easier if you pick the fight when she's sitting and waiting on her blast arrow to come back. Another fact, pretty much in every Cassie build, there's Somersault, and trust me, this card in some cases actually has the potential to ruin your fight, so don't forget to cripple her during at one point of your fight. The world is a cruel place, you know.
Get away from me, creep.
I'll feed you to me, Kraken.
There's absolutely nothing you can do against him other than feeding. One time I won because my friend let me, just to give me a pat on the back and let me know he can send his tentacles inside of me anytime he wants.
To grow stronger.
Yes. The tentacle hentai wants you, Alex.
No!
The tentacles want to go inside of you, Vora. I don't care if you're the goddess of death.
Oh no!
Hentai.
Oh no! He didn't kill me.
Tentacles.
Stay
Touch behind you here.
Oh
I
Your tick damage barely matters to him due to his self-sustained builds. Your cripple has no effect on him. You're literally digging your own grave if you use your obliteration, and it's easier for him to get you trapped in the animation. So the only tip I can give you, and it's too damn obvious, just poke and assist with your teammates if they decide to rush him. And it's always safe to use tendrils to dodge Trez's ult rather than using your RMB. All in all, it's a fight you should always avoid and do let your fellow teammates to deal with.
Ashes to ashes.
If you're in one of those cases where you got no choice cause the hit scan on your team is busy sucking big lollipops, then the tip against Drogos is always try to stay airborne with your tendrils while taking the fight, because it'll give him hard time tracking you. And you can make the fight even more advantageous if you can manage to cripple the Drogos before diving in. And by the way, you should cripple a Drogos every now and then to stop him from rotating or flanking. Another fact I see among the new Vora players is that they try to use obliteration to escape Drogos' ult instead of using tendrils. Please don't do that, cause similar as Khan, you'll die after the animation ends. But however, there's an exception. If the Drogos is low on HP, then your obliteration can actually kill him. Otherwise, always use tendrils to escape the dragon punch.
Fuck everything. Come.
Oh, there was an animation!
Oh wait, I took damage. Something already.
Come.
Oh my god!
killed.
My mouse! What the fuck happened to me?
Fire cannot kill a dragon.
The only tip I can give against the walk on the leader is that use your ult to chop her when she's piloting the dragon. In some cases, even if the dragon is breathing flames on your head, still you might be able to secure the kill due to the insane amount of DR you can stack up. Other than that, just keep in mind, Imani is one of the best anti-flankers in the game, and she can make the duel almost close to impossible for you to beat no matter how you take the approach.
You just can't win this. Like, what do you do if I do this? Yeah, you can't win against me. Possible, do it again. Yep. Like, I just do this and it's just all over already.
So like always, do poke her from safe distances and dive in on her only when she has used most of her abilities, and crippling her in her Frostfire glide always helps.
It's just business, dear.
Kinessa is always a free kill as long as you manage to dive in on her when she's tunneled in. And even if she's not, still you can give her PTSD with your tendrils and she can do nothing about it. But the things that you really should keep in mind is that poking as Vora is always advantageous because of the dot damage, as it allows her to easily track enemies even from behind walls, but do not poke against snipers if you don't have a better angle. And secondly, you should always check the loadout and talents of your enemies before starting off to any match, and this makes Nessa no exception. Some Kinessa loves to keep beam me up at high level, so you get the idea. If it's too high, then cripple her almost immediately when you dive in, and if the point numbers are lower, then just chill and cripple her when the teleporter animation is in halfway to finish up.
Death before dishonor.
When you dive in on a Leon, do keep in mind at one point of your fight, she'll ask you to kneel. Just don't make the mistake of using your obliteration at the start, cause using it too early at the fight might lead you to your death at the end for not having it. So the tip here is to save your RMB till the end, and use your Q ability at the start. In some cases, crippling a Leon panics her enough into using the ult. This way you'll always give her a free ticket to visit the spawn, and ask her to do something cheerful.
Glory has found me!
A good Shaolin player will always save his Impaler arrow to cripple you, and since Sand Trap is more reliable and easier to hit, so do keep in mind you're gonna get crippled one way or the other, and the rest is the artwork of his planet shots. Sometimes you might be able to counter a charged up Impaler arrow with your RMB, but most of the time it's just super risky and not reliable. So the tip here is when a shot cripples you, immediately use your ult, and either run away to safety, or if the situation favors it, continue the fight.
Many men wish death upon me.
Fighting Strix is a bit different than fighting Nessa, but no matter the difference, you'd still win if you use your abilities properly. Most often, a Strix will ult you when they see you jumping in on them using your tendril. Just use your RMB as it'll cleanse the flashbangs effect and might even tank a shot. And then depending on the situation, either root away or keep on fighting. Also, this has become a very common tip at this point.
There is no such thing as justice.
Happen to me.
How the world goes.
You're gone.
Similar as Vora's other counters, Type has a lot of ways to outplay her, but his Q mostly makes the difference. So I highly suggest do keep track of that and only take the fight when it's on cooldown. Can't say it'll ensure the kill on him, but in comparison, it'll surely make the duel significantly less painful.
Don't play with fire!
Tyra's built-in lifesteal actually hurts a lot in a Vora v Tyra duel. On top of that, if this Rambo is using Mercy Kill, then expect a DR build slapping on your face, and you can do nothing to outplay that. And if she's using Burn Monster, then you're just a flying meat waiting to get roasted. The face of this duel do change a bit in late games due to the buying of the right items, but still, it doesn't make the fight easy in any way. So the tip here is, Tyra suffers a lot in long range battles, so do poke her out, and if you're consistent enough in landing your shots, then chances are she'll use some of her nade shots, and this will give you an opening to dive in. And if you somehow got crippled on a Burn Monster Tyra, then using your ult is the only option you got to bail yourself out.
Then in doubt, empty the magazine.
If you see a Victor, don't be scared. He's just a Thanksgiving turkey waiting to get chopped. No matter how you jump in on him, you'll always win the fight. Just don't give him free line of sight to hit those free shots on you. Also, you can juke him hard and make him miss all his barrages.
Can I kill him? Alright, dead.
You can even take the bully to the next level and tank all of the barrages if you want to.
Yes.
Eyes on the prize.
I don't know how else to say this, but you gotta be a complete foot fetish perv to win this duel. Mostly Vivian players do save the shield to fight against the flankers, and as we all know, Vivian's feet is always exposed when she's using her deflector shield, so always aim for the feet. Even your Dark Siphon goes underneath her shield. It's like the game wants everyone to love her feet. What can you do?
Look at me! I'm harmless!
If you've come this far of this video, then I don't have to tell you, picking a direct 1v1 against blasters is just screwing your own self. Willow can poke you harder than you can poke her back, and if a Willow is smart enough, then she can bait out most of your abilities. A Willow v Vora duel is all about who uses the space and who outsmarts the other better. You can even kill a Willow in her ult if the situation favors it.
For the skies.
Enemies above us!
You can take the fight.
But for the sake of this video, a tip against a Willow would be, when you'll push a Willow, then she'll throw a seedling near you at one point of the battle to bait out your RMB. Don't panic and don't take the bait. If you time it correctly, then you can do both, kill her and negate the seedling damage. Just bear in mind, at one point of the fight, you have to end the duel by using your obliteration ability. Moving on to the tanky.
Oh no!
I love rock and roll.
You can drain her health down real fast if you're shooting alongside with your teammates. Just keep in mind about saving your dark energies, so that whenever you see an Ashe facing her bomb towards your teammates' faces and charging up her ram, you can cripple her and politely inform her that she's not allowed to do such things. And if you're fast enough, then she can never boop you out of the map. It works even if you're standing on the edge of a cliff. And if you're smart enough, then she can never stun you with her assault dominance.
Come at me. F. Holy shit.
Time is on our side.
When you're up against this dude, you'll shortly notice tendriling away won't be such a pleasant experience. Here's why. When you're tendriling away from him, just keep track and depending on when Atlas throws the setback, use RMB to cleanse it. Now you might have to use it when you're in the air or might have to use it after when you land. All depends on when he wants your booty. Also, you can deny Atlas's ult with yours.
Never trust a man with no beard!
Barracks turrets are excellent for farming dark energies, but this thing's got a problem. Now we know Vora's Q ability does stop him from using his rocket boosts and activating bowling ball, failsafe or double time. But it's just not reliable at times, because if the Barrack is smart enough, then he can easily block your cripple with a turret or his shield, especially in an upfront confrontation. So the basic tip is, try to poke him from vulnerable angles and do your cripplings from there, if possible. And you'll always get a better angle if you know the map well. And lastly, if your Barrack is low and ulted, then you can get inside of his dome and chop him up and get away with a very fair amount of health depending on how fast you do the execution. And even if you die, then still it's a very worthy trade.
It didn't have to be this way, my beautiful rose.
When you'll try to ult an Ant though, then he can easily put up his shield and stop you from slicing him. Your hit mark for the slice won't even show up. So the tip here is, since you can go through Nando's shield and since he's not giving you the pass, so it's time for you to use your big brain. Pick a side and let him think you want to bypass him through there. And right when you think he's buying it, quickly turn to the other side and get inside of the shield from there. Once you're in, nothing can stop you from chopping the mighty Gaylord.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yep, there you go.
Maybe you should listen to your robot.
If an Inara is playing treacherous ground and cripples you, then you can easily break free with your ultimate. And much like other deployables, Inara's wall is also perfect for farming chakras.
3, 2, 1.
I'll never give in to you, circus freaks.
You can do multiple surprising things against a Khan. First off, not only your cripple can stop him from grabbing you, but it also prevents him from throwing your teammates behind him. All you gotta do is predict when he's about to grab and react to it as quick as possible. Don't panic, it works even when he's through his grab animation. Secondly, if you can't ult somebody, then you can slice him up while he's holding down his target. And what makes it so obscure is that when your slice animation is happening, Khan cannot throw his target in the direction where he intended to throw, since his direction will be forced to face towards you. So this means there is a chance for you to save your teammates from getting thrown away from the map.
Go, 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 go.
You are done.
When a Makua ults, just patiently wait till his health drowns a bit. By bit, I mean 30% of course. Usually, I would advise you to wait till it drains 50%. That way, it reduces the chance of him getting healed up above 70%, and your execution won't be interrupted. And yes, Vora can challenge a Koa. Well, sort of.
Salah. Salah.
Death does not stop me.
Roam is just your free chakra generator. Whenever you see a Roam, just farm dark energies on him and dive in on his backline every once in a while. Primarily, you should always cripple a Roam and prevent him from using his Juggernaut. And I don't want to sound too repetitive, but crippling tanks who have escapable mobilities or countering tank CCs or their powerful abilities should, and through practice would, always come instinctively once you start to get the hang out of Vora. So a big brain tip, whenever you see a mid to low HP Roam coming running at you with his Juggernaut, then you can easily use your ult to stop him and delete him.
Sexy lady.
Focus, Ruckus.
Much like Ashe, if you play safe and shoot alongside with your teammates, then Ruckus won't be able to do much against you. Just whatever you do, don't be a dum-dum like me and try to ult a Hexafiring Ruckus. Speaking of Hexafire, if you happen to be in one of those situations where you fell in front of a Hexafire, then instead of using your tendrils, you can use your ult to get to cover. Why? Cause your ult gives you speed and 30% DR, which might be enough to make Vora live for another day.
You are no god.
Similar as Androxus's reversal, Terminus' Siphon doesn't give you any dark energies, neither hitting his Siphon gives him any calamity charges, so you can hit his thing with all your heart's content and won't have to worry about him slapping your face with a high burst. So the tip here is much like Xin, if you land your RMB in the center of where Terminus is standing, then you can hit him even when he's got his Siphon up. Secondly, do keep in mind you can cripple him in his Shadowfall, but this will more for like give him an advantage instead of putting him in trouble, cause if he's got Resil 3, then he can shook it off real quick and will perform another Shadowfall, which will help him to dive further into the backline. So instead of crippling him, try to use your Obliteration with a knockback build. So just like the buck tip, this will knock him back in a fair amount of distance and ruin his momentum. And lastly, try not to counter Terminus' ultimate with your RMB, it just doesn't work. The blast animation and the effect last longer than Vora's obliteration animation, so you'll just kill yourself. If you really want to act cocky, then use your ult and tank it instead, but don't be a clown trying to negate it with your RMB.
Go ahead.
You can't fool an intelligent mind, son.
Since Furia won't let you borrow her wings, so if you ever get caught up into Torvald's Hyper Beam, then if possible, Tendril wants to come back and immediately use your Obliteration as it'll kill the momentum of his Hyper Beam. Then use your Tendril again and congratulate yourself for not sucking a deagle. But things could have been much more easier if you ever get to predict when the Grandpa's gonna ult and try to counter it with your ult. If you made it till this far, then I don't have to tell you that crippling a support makes you outplay pretty much every support that you'll ever face in the game. So judging by that, since support tips are mostly similar and straightforward, so to avoid sounding repetitive, I thought of focusing the tips in the macro plays, where small mistakes might cost your flanking reputation and make your teammates report you for intentional feeding.
You dare face the son of Khan!
Usually, a Corvus always teleports towards his teammates, or to the closest tight places if the map favors it. When a Corvus uses his projection ability, you can literally tell in which direction he's gonna go, cause he'll throw his knife first, and after when the knife reaches its maximum travel distance, then he'll activate teleport. So if you can see that even after the teleportation he's still in your hit range, then there's no need to take a risky dive into the backline, since you can literally snipe him and finish him up from where you're standing. Also, this is doable.
Be humble, mortal.
When you're that up close to a Furia, when you can literally smell her chicken wings, expect a beam coming slapping on your face. To avoid this, always keep Obliteration in hand, and right when she's about to use her beam, just slap her with a 500 or 800 burst instead. And always remember, Furia is a DPS in disguise, so the faster you cripple her, the better it is for your TTK.
I'm the queen now! Wait!
Similar as Barrick, Grok can be pretty annoying with his totems, but in his case, he's got to body block the totem to keep his teammates sustained, so you don't necessarily have to dive into a Grok to kill him. Destroying his totem from a distance will help a bunch, since your teammates can push because of the lackage of the healing from the enemy side, and this will give you enough space to kill the Grok in the process. Also, don't worry about destroying his totem, because it's as easy as melting a snowman with a flamethrower, and if you stack it up with some bulldozer, you'll feel like shooting a rocket launcher at a snowman. Well, I'm running out of cringy jokes, and my content voice is failing me, but I hope you got the idea.
I saw you coming the whole way.
Grover's one of the biggest utility is that he can cripple you, and this hurts a lot, especially when you're trying to flank him. Also, in some cases, like say you did manage to keep the track of his abilities, still he might end up using his ult to save himself, and again, putting yourself in danger by alerting his teammates. What you should mostly do is stick to the pokes, and with COD 3, life gets significantly much more easier, especially for Vora, since the tick damage allows COD to stay over her enemies for longer durations.
Careful, we bite.
When dueling with Io, it's most likely she'll keep the Fox near her to tank your shots, and Io teaming up with her Fox can deal promising enough damage to put you in trouble. So similar as Barrick, do look for advantageous poking angles. Another tip, keep track of the dog's audio, cause that way you'll know when it's gonna strike to stun you, and you can easily negate it with your Obliteration. What I like to do is when the dog takes position to strike me, I quickly tendril near Io and try to hit her with my Obliteration, and in the process, I negate the stun as well. I know it's kinda risky, but the effort is rewarding enough as you get to see our whole team dying without the absence of the support.
Is it true you don't poop?
If you're being lifted by a perf Genos and there's no nearby obstacles to give you a good tendril value, then you can always tendril on him to break free and add some modifications in his wet dream. Of course, don't be like this guy and use Obliteration to counter Genos' ult if you ever get to fall into one, that is.
Don't be salty.
You really can't deny a Dumba's ult with your Obliteration, but it's pretty difficult to predict when a Dumba's gonna ult. So it's always safe to poke him at first and grab his attention, and then make him realize you're going all in, and upon reaching close at one point, time it correctly and then use your RMB.
You're blue, Dobby Diva dead!
In Pip's case, you can easily know when a Pip's gonna ult, because you'll see him suspiciously diving further into your backline than usual, and your spidey senses will tingle and tell you that this kid's gonna ult. When that's the case, stay prepared to use your Obliteration. If you're too unsure whether you'll be able to land it in time or not, then in that case, use your ult, it's more safer. And even if he's full in HP, then still I'd suggest you to slice him up, as it'll stop his momentum and more chickens will be safe to see another day.
Justice is a mortal construct.
Ceres can be a pretty tough opponent, and until late game, she can actually be able to get a grip on you due to her annoying self-sustain and constant damage capabilities. So it's always safe to catch a Ceres off guard and cripple her right when you're engaged to the duel, cause the card Veil at higher points can almost make it closer to impossible to react to it.
It hit! It hit!
And of course, expect that to happen every once in a while.
I like where this is going.
Ying's clones can be excellent for farming chakras, but she can be pretty annoying to flank if she's smart and dancing around her clones. But unlike Berserker Io, you really don't have to look for better poking angles, as you can get close to her and use your obliteration to separate her from her clones. And needless to say, and you're probably already realizing how time and time the knockback card is proving worthy enough to be present in the loadout. And that's all there is to it. If you made it till this far, then you're a legend, and legends deserve special treats. Join my Discord server and participate in the weekly giveaway, and depending on the rotation, get a chance to win small, medium and large gifts, and through that, get a chance to win free skins every week. And in general, the mods I have in the server are super nice, and they're the reason why I was able to make this video possible. And speaking of which, this video could have never been finished if it weren't for these awesome people. Their constant active support and critics were the reason why I had so much fun in making this video and was able to share it with you guys. So if you just want to hang out and chill, or want to help me out with my future contents, then joining my Discord server will seal the deal. Also, I want to quickly mention that by the time I was making this video, Yagurath was still chilling in the egg and didn't even hit PTS yet, but judging by what I saw, she's a very interesting character and really did grab my attention. Who knows, like Vora, if you guys help me decide, then I might end up making a one-tip video on her as well. So all you gotta do is keep on smashing those like buttons and keep me motivated, and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned. Stay safe, stay home, take good care of yourself, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.